Good day everyone, my name is Junin Sabalbaro and I'm going to talk about Articles 1244 and 1245. So before we proceed, let's take a look at our objectives. So at the end of this lesson, the students will be able to know what is Article 1244, to know what is in the Article 1245, and for the students to be more literate enough or knowledgeable enough about these articles. So first, let's talk about Article 1244. So Article 1244 states that the debtor of a thing cannot compel the creditor to receive a different one, although the latter may be of the same value as or more valuable than which is due. In obligation to do or not to do, an act or forbearance cannot be substituted by another act or forbearance against the obligee's will. So the first paragraph refers to a real obligation to deliver a specific thing. A thing different from that due cannot be offered or demanded against the will of the creditor or debtor, as the case may be. Ibig sabihin, ang nagpapautang ay hindi kabilang o nasasakop ng pagtanggap ng pagbabayad ng ikatlong tao na walang kinalaman o interes sa kaganapan ng obligasyon, maliban kung mayroong kasunduan sa isang banda. The second paragraph refers to personal or positive and negative obligations. The act to be performed or the act prohibited cannot be substituted against the obligee's will. Ibig sabihin, ang sinumang nagbayad para sa iba ay maaaring makapaningil sa nangutang ng kanyang binayaran, maliban na kung siya ay magbayad ng hindi alam at hindi ayon sa kagustuhan ng nagpautang. Mababawi o masisingil lamang niya ito kung ang pagbabayad ay may kapakinabangan sa inutang. So, let's give you an example. So, D is obliged himself to deliver a specific horse. D cannot require C to accept another horse, although it commands a higher price. Neither can C require D to deliver another horse belonging to D, although it can be sold only at a much lower price. So the general rule is that the creditor shall be paid only what has been stipulated upon, because the contract between the contracting parties is the law between them. The contract shall be respected. The rule applies even though the thing being offered as substitute is worth more than the very thing agreed to be delivered. Personal positive or negative obligation, an act or forbearance cannot be substituted by another act unless the creditor consents. The consent shall constitute a waiver of right. Now, let's talk about Article 1245. So, Article 1245 states that dation in payment whereby property is alienated to the creditor in satisfaction of a debt in money shall be governed by the law of sales. Ibig sabihin, ang pagbabago sa pagbabayad na kung saan ang pag-aari ay nailipat sa nagpautang upang matugunan ang nautang na salapi ay dapat na mapamahalaan ayon sa batas ng bentahan. So there are 4 special forms of payment under the Civil Code. But now, let's talk about dation in payment, which is under the Article 1245. So what is dation in payment? Dation in payment is the conveyance of ownership of a thing as an accepted equivalent of performance. Dation in payment, whereby property is alienated to the creditor in satisfaction of a debt in money, shall be governed by the law of sales. The thing sold shall be understood as delivered when it is placed in the control and possession of vendee. In addition, it is a mode of discharging a debt or claim by the debtors giving to the creditor, with the latter's consent, something in full satisfaction of the obligation, but of a character different from the original called for by the obligation. So, it is a special form of payment because it is not the ordinary way of extinguishing an obligation. An existing debt in money is satisfied not by payment of money but by the alienation of property. There is a dation in payment when property is alienated to the creditor in satisfaction of a debt in money. Here, the debtor delivers and transmits to the creditors the former's ownership over a thing as an accepted equivalent of the payment or performance of an outstanding debt. In such cases, Article 1245 provides that the law on sales shall apply, since the undertaking really partakes in one sense of the nature of sale. That is, the creditor is really buying the thing or property of the debtor, the payment for which is the charge against the debtor's obligation. Dation in payment extinguishes the obligation to the extent of the value of the thing delivered, either as agreed upon by the parties or as may be proved, unless the parties by agreement, express or implied, or by their silence, consider the thing as equivalent to the obligation, in which case the obligation is totally extinguished. Now, let me give you an example of Article 1245. D owes C 30,000 pesos. To fulfill the obligation, D, with the consent of C, delivers a piano. If the piano, however, is worth less than 30,000 pesos, the conveyance must be deemed to extinguish the obligation to the extent only of the value agreed upon, unless the parties by their agreement have considered the piano as a full payment, in which case the obligation is totally extinguished. Ibig sabihin, kung si D ay binayaran ang utang na 30,000 pesos gamit ang piano, ngunit ito ay mababa sa 30,000, si D ay obligado pa ring magbayad ng kanyang utang, maliban kung ang partido ay isinaalang-alang ang piano bilang buong bayad, kung saan ang obligasyon ay ganap na napawi. And that's all. Thank you.